5 impurities, Klesha, afflictions, are described by Rishi Patanjali. There are 5 basic impurities of the mind as per Rishi Patanjali. These mental obstructions, afflictions, Klesha, activate and motivate thought processes in the mind. These 5 afflictions not only deprive one from Shanti at the mind level, but they also give rise to many more afflictions, obstructions in the mind. More and more actions get generated from these obstructions, impurities, and afflictions at the mind level. These lead to sorrow and takes one further and further away from Shanti, peace. First klesha is Avidya. Avidya, as described in Sutra 2.5. Avidya consists in regarding a transient object as everlasting, an impure object as pure, misery as happiness, and the not self as self. This is Avidya. This affliction is the root cause of the rest of the afflictions. The focus of yoga scriptures is to ultimately remove Avidya, ignorance, which is the source of all human suffering. Which ignorance are we talking about? The ignorance being referred to here is the ignorance of the highest truth, ultimate reality, the truth of who we are, which is the reality of everything, divine, limitless, Purusha. We are ignorant of this profound truth. In our ignorance, we end up taking ephemeral, transient, ever-changing and fleeting body, relations, thoughts, emotions, objects, and transactions to be permanent. This is Avidya. Pronunciation is with the soft the sound, soft dental sound. Avidya. Second sutra is about Asmita. This is Sutra 2.6. It says, Egoism is the identification of the seer with the instrument of seeing. False identity results when we regard mental activity as the very source of perception. Because of the ignorance about the reality, which is avidya, I associate myself with the body-mind complex, physical body and sense organs, sense perceptions, mind and intellect. I am an individual self bound by this particular body, mind, intellect, this self-centric complex which gives rise to the I-ness or ego. This is Asmita. Ignorance or avidya and then Asmita, association with the limited body, mind and intellect, ego, leads one to perceive oneself to be a limited being. Pronunciation is Asmita. Letter T is a soft dental sound again. This sound is Asmita. This is Sutra 2.6, Asmita. Third affliction, Klesha, is Raga. Raga in Sutra 2.7 is described as attachment stems from experience of happiness. Excessive attachment is based on the assumption that the experience will contribute to everlasting happiness. Raga always arises from the past experiences. In certain past moments, one has experienced happiness, fullness, and completeness momentarily, and it was in association with certain name, form, object, situation, or a person. During these past experiences, the thought that I am this limited being had disappeared, and thus one attributes the happiness, fullness, and completeness to that particular situation, object, or person. Thus, one develops raga for the same. One develops an attitude of attachment towards certain objects, situations, and people, those which one associates with momentary happiness. Pronunciation is Raga. Raga is the third affliction in Sutra 2.7. Fourth affliction is Dvesha. Dwesha. Sutra 2.8 describes Dwesha as unreasonable dislikes are usually the result of painful experiences in the past connected with particular objects and situations. Aversion stems from experiences of pain. Exactly opposite of Raga is Dwesha. When certain object, situation, people cause the feeling of unpleasantness, one feels uncomfortable with or uneasy with them. One develops dislike towards those objects, situations, or persons. Raga and Dwesha give rise to anger, jealousy, and lust, and finally lead to failure in adhering to moral principles. Pronunciation is Dwesha. Please note, letter D is a soft dental sound, the, Dwesha. This is the fourth affliction in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Fifth affliction, fifth klesha is Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is described in Sutra 2.9 as in the ignorant, so in the learned, the firmly established inborn fear of annihilation is the affliction called Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the fear that comes naturally. For example, fear of death, fear of rejection, hurt, and loneliness. While fear of death is a survival instinct, other fears arise due to insecurities. And because of the fears, we seek security through objects, money, latching on to people, experiences, and situations. When these fears rule our intellect, we lose self-confidence, become dependent, we get addicted or depressed. Thus, this klesha, called Abhinivesha in our mind, gives rise to many other kleshas, obstructions, and impurities. Pronunciation for this fifth klesha is Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha. What can be done with the knowledge of the obstructions in the mind, of the kleshas in the mind? Usually, our minds jump around from one thought to another thought like a monkey jumping on branches. There is a lack of alertness. Observing what is happening in the mind helps a person to see thoughts covered in klesha. Much effort is needed to see Raga, Dvesha, extreme attachments and dislikes for what they are. They are created by Asmita, ego, and Abhinivesha, fears and insecurities. Sadhana Pada, which is the second chapter, in Sutra 10 states that these klesha are quite normal for all human beings. They should be reduced and made unmanifestable and impotent like the seeds that are made non-sproutable when roasted. Roasted seeds are unable to sprout. Similarly, these klesha are to be made non-sproutable with Kriyā Yoga. With practice of Kriyā Yoga, a person sees the klesha arising in his or her mind, and with alertness, he or she will be able to manage these mental impurities, these klesha. What can be done with the knowledge of Kriya Yoga? One is able to reduce mental clutter of the mind, klesha, with Kriya Yoga practice. Kriya Yoga is a threefold practice. It includes tapas, for purifying, training senses like seeing, hearing, tasting, etc. Swadhyaya, self-study in the context of teachings, knowing what can or cannot be changed. Ishvara, pranidhana, surrender what you cannot change. Patanjali also recommends following measures to reduce mental impurities. First is dhyana. Dhyana is meditation and contemplation. Pratipaksha bhavana. This means to contemplate and to look at the situation from another perspective, from another standpoint. So for Kriya Yoga, there are 3 steps: tapas, swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana, and also include dhyana and pratipaksha bhavana. Pronunciations for this presentation are Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Klesha, Klesha. Please note, U and H are almost silent and used here only to prevent mispronunciations arising from a sound. Avidya, Avidya, Asmita, Asmita, Raga, Raga, Dvesha, Dwesha, Abhinivesa, Abhinivesha, Kriyā Yoga, Kriyā Yoga, tapas, tapas, swadhyaya, swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana, Ishvara pranidhana, dhyana, pratipaksha bhavana, pratipaksha bhavana. Layout of Yoga Sutras text by Patanjali shows: first is the Samadhi Pada, discussion on mind. Then comes Sadhana Pada, which includes Kriya Yoga and Klesha. Third chapter is Siddhi or Vibhuti Pada, which talks about mental discipline. Final is the Kaivalya Pada, liberation, absoluteness.